Firstly, can you just give us an overview of Sino-Forest's business model? I think for a lot of American investors, they understand the way in which the forestry business works, plantation business works in the United States, but maybe they don't understand it in China. Maybe you could talk us through how your business works.
We're operating plantations in China that with the two models. One, that we buy trees, standing timber, which are trees. We buy, we hold, and later on then we sell them as trees. We don't log them. And we're also running another model of planting trees on bare land. When they mature, we log them and sell them as logs. Whereas in North America, most of the forest operations are cutting selectively from the forest to have the logs for sale. So that is one basic difference in model. As for the business environment, that in North America, it is a very matured capitalistic economy, whereas in China, it's a changing world from a planned economy 30 years ago, over the last 30 years, rapidly into what they call the open economy, and still changing. And the regulations, the rules are changing, policy changing, government structure changing, people's habits are changing. So we have to be able to understand all this in order to operate effectively. And also that since China is so big, and that with a big population and is a big diversity of land, and the wood demand is roughly about 450 million cubic meters. And last year we have only sold about 17 million cubic meters, so we're just a fraction of the total market. But the deficit, even the deficit is 50% deficit, meaning China have to import a lot of wood from outside as well. So this is a kind of wood deficit situation that we're operating in, trying to develop plantations as a major long-term wood supplier for China. In China, we cannot own the land, so we only buy the trees or we grow the trees. So for the trees that we bought in China, we hold them for 2 to 3 years, and then we sell them as trees. We do not do our own logging. The buyer will do the logging. And then for the trees that we plant, we plant them on bare land. After 6 years, the cycle completed, they matured. Then we also have contractors to log them and sell them as logs.
What percentage of your business do you actually log yourselves at the moment?
About 5–10%.
If I can sum them up simply, Muddy Waters' allegations against you would be that you utilize your AI structure in order to create a huge amount of confusion in the market. There's the allegation that your AIs essentially are suppliers and customers to you, that there's some sort of confusion, some sort of deliberate confusion and fix here in order to mislead your auditors, perhaps to avoid taxes. Can you answer these allegations?
Okay. Firstly, I have to make a very clear statement that the supplier and the buyers are two different companies. So that we use agents as a purchasing agent to round up trees for us, that to sell to us. So these are on the supplier side. And then for the AIs, they are on the seller side. So they are entrusted for our sales into the market. The reason for AI to exist was quite common in the early days, in the 90s, that for international company operating in China, that usually we have our BVIs doing business in China. And in that case, that since that in those days we could not form the WOFIs, wholly subsidiaries onshore, so we had to go through this AI. Actually, authorized intermediaries is our own term. People can call them agents or whatever they call it. But essentially, that means that a BVI company have to go through this kind of onshore arrangement for the market onshore. And also that China is such a big country, and therefore that we are not running a retail chain in China, so that and there are so a lot of end users and customers, thousands and thousands. So it is better for us to be more efficient by selling through several long-term customers, what we call the entrusted agents, which is we call them AIs.
Return to the issue of AIs for a second. There's a suggestion that there are relationships, close relationships, connected relationships between you and the AIs. Can you clarify that there are no connected party transactions that should be declared?
Yep.
Can you clarify that you don't have people working for you and working for the AIs? And why do you refuse to name the AIs?
Let me be absolutely clear that all the connected party transactions which are material are identified and disclosed in the annual report. And none of the AIs are in whatever way connected to the companies or to me or to my management directly. We do have ex-employees that are doing business with us, that a gentleman that left in 2007 and set up his own shop and doing fine. So we want to do business with him because we know him and we trust him. As for the identity of AIs, we don't want to disclose them because forestry business is getting hotter and hotter in China. There are a lot more newcomers, players in the area, and that if we disclose AI's name, actually we are giving out a lot of our competitive advantages to people to work against us.
But again, I assume that Ernst & Young has access to your AIs when they do their audit.
Even though that we do not disclose outside, but we have disclosed to Ernst & Young, our auditor, all the identities and addresses and whereabouts, the details of our AIs.
But what you seem to have, nevertheless, is a structure which is very convenient for making money, but you don't seem able to realise any of that money to bring it back to your investors. Why is that? What is going to change in the future, and why should people be patient?
Actually, it's a by choice that we have been growing our BVI companies because it's a historical evolution. So that since we started with BVIs in the 90s, and so that as the asset grew, then the revenue is getting bigger, and therefore asset base getting further bigger. And then we use this asset bases under these BVIs to take up pioneer positions in different provinces, since that we know these are provinces that is going to be huge demand areas, what I call the emergent submarkets in China. So we better move our trees there before the other guys that go there. So that's why that we have been using the BVI's growing asset base as our establishing our beachheads in different provinces. But at the same time, we have also been, since that the WUFI were allowed, and then since 2002, 2003, probably 2004, that all the money that we have, the money that we have raised and that we remit into China, into these WUFIs, and capitalize them, fund them, and use them then to expand their own WUFI asset bases in China, whether it's by buying trees or by planting trees. So therefore, that we have been gradually developing this parallel running of the operations. So on one hand, we had historically developed and evolved BVI models. At the same time, that we are building up this WUFI model. And so for the WUFIs, that's a simple thing that you make a profit, you pay tax, then you can remit the money. For the BVIs, that if we so choose to stop expanding, we can say choose one or two BVIs to sell off, pay the tax, and then repatriate the money.
All of that depends, of course, on actually owning the trees. And there is an allegation from Muddy Waters, show us the beef, show us you actually do own the trees which you say you own. How do you respond to that?
Actually, that we own all the trees, and that the ownership of them have been reviewed and audited every year by our auditors, Ernst & Young, and they to their satisfaction. And also that now the independent committee engaging independent advisors also to review, to confirm the work done by EY over the last 5 years.